Hello everybody, welcome to Lesson 13. Dave Hill tuning in today with you for your guitar lessons in rhythm guitar. Alright, so I hope you've been studying and you worked on that last lesson hard. We've covered a lot of basics in that, but I want you to take it a step further. Remember we talked about rhythm and counting in Lesson 12. So now I'm going to be able to use that information in some of my following lessons to make our charts more interesting, because we're going to be able to write the charts on the boards and make them a little bit more complex and make the music a little bit more interesting. Okay, so I'll continue to reference that information in our next lessons. But let's talk about what we're going to do today in terms of this lesson. We've covered a lot of ground with the open string chords that we discussed for a while in our first lessons, and we turned those into movable bar shapes that we've talked about playing in a variety of different spots, and those are going to be used a lot in this lesson. But what I want to do is go back to the open string chords. Okay, the reason I want to do that is because I want to take those open string chords and I want to do some stuff with them that's going to make them cool. Okay, because even open string chords, as much as they seem like basic things, you can really make them a lot more interesting by doing other things to the chords, and we're going to spend some time on that in this lesson. Okay, so let's review some of the shapes that I'm going to use in my chart. Okay, you can see that I've written out an open A chord, an open D chord, an open C chord, and an open G chord. And open refers to the fact that there's a lot of open strings ringing in the open position. Okay, don't look at that chord yet, because that's just in my chart. Okay, so check it out. We've got an A chord right here. Okay, we've got a D chord right here. We've got a C chord right here. Okay. But what we're going to talk about today is something that's commonly done to chords, and that's adding another note. It's called add 9 chords. Okay. Now what does that mean, add 9? Let's think about that for a second. Well, let's think about the 9 in terms of a scale and understand what that note is. Okay. So if we're going to talk about the scale degrees, and we call this 1 and we count up to 9, what what happens there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, so the 9 is essentially the same thing as the second degree of the scale, or the second degree up an octave from this note. Okay, it's the same note as the 2. Okay, so if you take a major chord, in this case I've spelled out a C major triad, 1, 3, 5. Oop, that's supposed to be a 5 right there, look at that. 1, 3, 5. Now, let's just call the C major chord. But check it out, if you add the D in there, now the D is exactly an octave above the second degree. Right here, we call that the 9, or the 9th. Okay? Now what's so nice about that note is that you can add it to any kind of major or minor triad, and it does something to the color of the chord that makes it sound more complex without really changing it in any real profound way. It just adds a little bit of a color to it. Okay? Now I'm going to show you how I'm going to do that now. It's very easy, and sometimes what you end up doing with the chords that I'm going to show you is that you end up just simply lifting up one of your fingers. Okay? And it's going to be called an add 9 or sus 9, which means suspend one of the notes to the 9. So check it out. If you take the A chord here and you play it, and you simply find the 9 of this chord, you'd find it to be the same note as the B, right? So now where is the B in this chord? Well, let's take a look at it. We could play it as an open B, okay, or we could play it right here. Okay? So what I'm getting at is that there's two places you could play it. You could add it in the chord right here. And then you've got the root, you've got the 5th, you've got the 9th, and you've got the 3rd right there. That's kind of cool, isn't it? Becomes this. Now listen to the difference here. Here's A major, here's A major add 9. Subtle, but it's really cool. You can also do it like this. You can just take it, the 3rd right here, and just drop it off, and just keep this note on the root again, and just let this note ring, and then you've got this kind of sound. Okay? Now we don't even have a third, but it still essentially sounds like an A add 9. You've got two different ways of playing it, with the third or without the third and having the open string ringing. Okay? So let's go back to having it here and keep the third in the chord for now on this chord. Okay? Okay, now let's take a look at the D chord here, see what we can do here. Here's a D chord, open D. Now, the fact is, if you tried to add the E to the chord within this fingering, it would be kind of difficult, but you can do it. You can do it right here. Okay? But what I'm going to suggest in this position is to just do it with an open E. Right? In fact, if you want to put the third in the chord, you can put it lower like this. There's the third right there. You could put it here, and then you could still have the open E ringing, so you'd have this sound. Or if you want to just do it with the root and just the open E, then you just let it go like this. Okay, notice the color is a little bit more, less defined rather, because you don't hear the third, but it still sounds good. You can actually incorporate them both in the chord. You can go. Sounds good too. Okay, so I'm going to just erase this, and we're going to let the open E ring here. Call that like that. Okay, now let's how do we get it in the C chord? Let's take a look at this. Here's our C chord. Where's our ninth? Remember, the ninth is the same as the second degree, but it's going to be up an octave. So why don't we just simply find a place where the ninth is. In this case, it's right here. And I'll just add it, instead of keeping the root here, I'll put it right over here. And now we've got root, third, fifth, and this is now the ninth. So it's add 9. Now listen to that. That's kind of cool too. Okay, here's what it started off sounding. Now we've got this. It just adds a little bit more color to it, and it just makes it sound more interesting. Okay, we've also got our G chord down here. Now look at this one. What do we do here? We've got plenty of G's in this chord. We've got one G there, one G there, one G there. Right? We've got a third here. We've got an open fifth. Where are we going to find the ninth? Well, the ninth is, remember, the same thing as the second, up an octave. So we're going to try to find a way to make this note sound in the chord. So what I'm going to suggest to you is perhaps play it like this. Or what we're going to do here is we've got the root. I'm going to kind of deaden this string right here. And I've got the fifth right here. And I've got the ninth right there. And I could actually let the B string ring, but I kind of like the sound of no B in this chord, no third. And we'll play it like that, and it'll be without the third, but it'll be actually pretty cool. So let's just keep the fifth here and add the ninth right here, and then we've got G add 9 here. It's kind of cool. Okay, so now these chords are going to really hip up our next progression because they add a little bit of more of an open sound. And they add a color that's brighter. And they add a certain openness to the chords that the basic triads are very square sounding. These are a little bit more open. Okay, so we're going to find a place to use these in our next example. Okay, so hang on a second. I'm going to get the progression up here for you. Okay, so here we have our progression that we're going to apply our new chords to. Okay, and notice we're using the notation that we learned from our last lesson to describe the rhythms here. Okay, so let's talk about those rhythmic groupings, and you'll see what I mean here. Okay, so remember we talked about what a whole note looked like. It was just simply an oval note head without a stem. Well, this represents a chord whole note. In other words, it's a note head, but instead of being a circle, it's a diamond, and it represents a whole bar of the chord sound, in this case an A add 9. So we count this out just simply with 4 beats, because this is in 4/4. Really should put that up there to make that totally clear. Okay? And then this right here refers to a tie. What that means is it's ringing over into this note right here, and this is actually being counted for 3 beats, because there's a dot here that represents adding value to the note. Okay, we've got to talk about that in other lessons, but for right now, just understand that that's a 3-beat note. Okay, and here's the downbeat of 4, which is tied over, so you don't play it, but you play the upbeat here with the D chord, with the D add 9, the one that we just learned. Okay, and we're going to play this line twice before we move on to the next line, and in this case, this is also twice. And notice I put 8th notes right here. You're going to hear 8th notes coming in this kind of a sound. Just to give it a little lift the second time through here. Okay, and then at this point we add the other chords that we've talked about, and you can improvise a little bit, but with or watch my hands first, and I'll show you what I'm going to do there. Okay, but we get into a really cool flavor with these chords now, and I want to show you how it's going to sound. Okay, so here we go. Like 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. There's the 8th notes on the other track. 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, here's the B section. Okay, so that's pretty